I'm sure there's like a Kung Fu Panda reference I can shove in this video somewhere. Either way, today we're going to be covering Jiangyu, and we'll be covering the combat section is the most interesting part about this, just because it kind of shows you how she works as opposed to trying to explain it. Her text descriptions have a lot of words in them, but it makes a lot of sense once you see her in action. So we're going to cover that, and all the usuals, weapons, attachments, keys, etc., etc. And then hopefully you'll have a nice, good understanding of how she works, and then we can segue in the future to the full electric team guide. So with that, let's hop in and let's take a look at how she works. Well said, Jiangyu, well said. Let's talk about combat. So for Jiangyu's combat section, it's pretty straightforward. She has two main responsibilities. One is to make this number go down, and two is to do whatever the hell's happening in this giant ass box of text. We'll get to that. That's less important. This is specifically for electric teams. But she does her two jobs very well. The main way she just does buckets of stability damage is her two mechanics. One, her chi mechanic, and two, the effect that she makes 5 to 6 instances of damage every single turn. So let's really quickly talk about chi. So chi is something that she will accumulate over time whenever she does support attacks or using her abilities. For example, the alt here, right there at the very first sentence, selects an enemy, gains 2 stacks of chi. So what does chi do? So chi, let's pull up the little tooltip for it. Chi just increases the amount of stability damage that she does with her attacks. And then when she uses her Thunderclap or another ability on an enemy that has stability, like that is not stability broken, I should say, she cashes it all in for a big chunk of extra damage or extra stability damage. That is not why it's so important. The point is that since she gets 2 support attacks, she gets 2 interception attacks, and then she gets her normal skills, one of which can combo with another one. She'll be doing so many instances of damage that at 5 stacks of chi, if you're doing 5 instances of damage, that's an extra 25 stability damage over the course of the turn. In addition, carrying that with her best friend, Lena. I know, some people think that Leva and Lena are best friends, but it's actually Jiangyu. Lena, they're best friends. Kind of weird. But once pairing her with Lena, when Lena uses Leap in Pursuit and puts Stability Loss 2 on the target, that number gets multiplied even higher. So I'm going to speed through this turn, but we're going to do exactly what I said. We're going to put Stability Loss 2 on the target. You're going to see a lot of support attacks and whatnot coming out of the team here. And then we'll have Jiangyu. Now, Jiangyu's one weakness is that she cannot go up and down elevation. So, for example, in this particular scenario, this is an awkward boss because he starts 1 tile away too far to hit with your Thunderclap ability. So you can only do Rolling Thunder or Lightning Smash. We'll talk about her standard rotation in a minute here because it does change depending on segments. But even if I had moved her over here, she can't use Thunderclap up and down elevations. So we're just going to have to do boring old ults. But that's okay. We're going to generate some stacks of chi for ourselves. And mostly we're just going to set ourselves up for next turn. So we're going to speed through the rest of the turn here. Okay, so now we're on turn 2 and we're about to see the magic happen. So we're going to do the same thing. Actually, I'm going to have Macchiato fix this little problem in front of us because I know this guy is going to be annoying if we just leave him there. So he fixed that. Unfortunately, that did use up one of the instances of support attack, but we'll have more than enough. So Lena's gonna go. You'll see Lena. Now Jiangyu's at 5 stacks of chi, so once again all these attacks that she's doing are getting an extra 5 points of stability damage, plus phase weakness, plus ammo type weakness, plus stability loss 2. So you're gonna see the boss here is gonna take a lot of stability damage. We might even break him. We might just break him in 1 turn here. Even though these attacks are not doing any damage because he has such ridiculous amounts of damage reduction. So as you can see here, this is a good example of what happens when Jiangyu has full stacks of chi and she actually attacks somebody with stability. She just deletes about 50 stability with just this one attack, and then she's gonna have more attacks to go after this. So she is the queen of ripping stability off targets. Now it looks like we're gonna be just a teeny bit short. I said I'm speeding through this fight a little bit just to demonstrate. This actually is not the way you do this fight. If you do it this way, you're probably gonna have trouble next turn, but I just kind of wanted to illustrate how we were able to go through about 150 stability in one turn with this team. And we haven't even gotten to interception attacks from Macchiato and Jiangyu yet. This last turn, they did not proc, but... So, there we go. Now the interception attacks are finally showing up. And, yeah, so we're actually chunking the boss pretty good. So that kind of wraps up the combat section. Now, the boss got all his stability back because of a mechanic he does, which, like I said, is, you know, in an ideal world, we would have actually waited a turn to do all that, but I just wanted to show it up front. Jiangyu has a weird point in her rotation now. I'm probably going to cut here in a second and show you the correct rotation on like a standard fight, because we have, like I said, a very awkward turn right now if all she can do is basic attack. But that's kind of her in a nutshell. The rest of her stuff you don't have to think about. All these words, they pretty much just say lightning team or electric team just gets better. You do more damage and you stack buffs on yourself. So, but let's transition. I'm going to show you what a rotation where she gets to use her abilities in the normal order looks like. All right, Jiangyu, say the thing. Say the thing. There we go. Okay, real quick, let's just show you the rotation. It's really cancerous. It's usually use Thunderclap, and then you get to do an alt on the first turn. The reason you do the alt on the first turn is because it stacks a layer of positive charge on your teammates, which, when you have Jiangyu on the team, actually does good things, which we'll kind of talk about in the abilities section. But you always want to be using the alt if it's off cooldown. And then after she does all of her support attacks and interception attacks here, we'll use the only other ability that we can on this turn. So this turn she's going to be stuck using Lightning Smash, and kind of there's just nothing else to do about it. We'll go ahead and use that. And then from here on out, it's going to be Thunderclap plus whatever's available. Next turn it'll be her basic attack, then alt, then, you know, whatever's off cooldown. So you're going to have a really janky rotation. By the time you hit like turn 4 and 5, it's going to be all over the place. It's just something you have to deal with, unfortunately. Now, the good news is it does get fixed here at segment 2, which we will transition to. So, at segment 2 here, it becomes a lot more comfy. You use Thunderclap into the alt, just like we did in the original rotation. The only difference is now things are going to line up a lot better. It's kind of infuriating that the devs did this, but, you know, 2 segments for a, you know, quality of life in her rotation. It's, you know, not my favorite way to design characters, but, like, you know, who am I to question our gacha overlords? So she'll do her same stuff, just like before. The only difference now is that when we use Lightning Smash, next turn we'll be off cooldown with everything, and then we'll be back to the beginning. So here we are. Now we're back at the beginning of the turn, and we're going to be able to repeat Thunderclap and Rolling Thunder over and over and over again. Now, this actually isn't going to do anything because of how the boss mechanic works, but you get the idea. The important thing is that from here on out, it's always going to be Thunderclap and alt, and then the next turn, you're going to use Lightning Smash, and then rinse and repeat. And it's going to be that nice and comfortable rotation the entire time. You won't have to think about anything. If there's ever a turn where you don't get to use Thunderclap, you just, you know, wait till the following turn. It doesn't matter. These don't have to be aligned for any specific reason. It's just, like, a lot more comfortable. All right, let's talk about Jiangyu skills, weapons, keys, all that nonsense. So let's firstly go over Thunderclap here. The only thing I kind of want to highlight about this ability is that if it exploits a phase weakness, it does an extra 10 or extra 5 stability damage, which brings the total to 10. This is really good because obviously with Lena going first, Lena is not only putting stability loss 2 on the target, she's also going to use her ult to put the voltage tiles down ahead of time. So this will usually always exploit stability or exploit the phase weakness for the bonus stability damage. In addition to that, the extra tiles of movement and the instance of extra command are pretty comfy, but nothing too out of the ordinary with this. If you have a turn where you can't use this, for example, you can't hit them in melee range or something, you can always just use it the following turn. This is kind of like just a quote bonus ability. If you miss it every now and then, it's not the end of the world. Lightning Smash, nothing really to talk about. It just gives you an extra stack of chi, and the Confectance is important, but not really. It's important because it reduces the cooldown on her ult, but because of how she works, like how her cooldowns line up, you never actually have to think about this. There's no min-maxing to be done around this until the electric team gets a unit that maybe like gives you bonus Confectance. Right now, this is just not even worth thinking about, so don't worry about it. Rolling Thunder, her ult. The other thing you need to notice about this one is it does cleanse a debuff. In our previous example versus Chaos, I actually hold this ability to use on turn 3 because the boss hits everybody with a movement debuff that prevents them from moving, and if you don't move on that turn, you take big damage. So having this cleanse debuffs is actually really, really solid. It's an underrated use of this skill. In addition to that, the other thing I want to point out is that it ignores cover and it does not need line of sight. It doesn't specify it in here, but this ability does not need line of sight. So you can, like I said, you can be hiding completely behind a solid wall or something, and you can hit targets on the other side. So that's very handy to do. Once again, Confectance doesn't matter. This is something that just happens in the background. Don't worry about it. Finally, let's talk about her passive, the 5-page long explanation. Let me summarize this in a very basic way. Once again, ignore the Confectance part. All you need to know is that she allows negative and positive charge to be stacked multiple times. Normally, negative charge is just a debuff on the enemy, and positive charge is just a buff on your units. Now they get new abilities. So, for example, if you get positive charge repeatedly, you get a stacking power surge buff, which makes you do electric damage. Ignores target's defense, and you get more healing. If they have negative charge and get it stacked multiple times, for example, Andrus attacks them multiple times with the turrets, it will put a stacking debuff called Voltage Sag on them. This just reduces the amount of damage they do and increases the amount of electric damage they take. So, in summary, she just makes these better. You don't have to think about it. You're still going to use your abilities mostly in the same way. Once again, you're always going to be trying to do positive charge. You're always going to be trying to apply negative charge. This just allows them to stack and do better things. The bottom part here, this just says she does support attacks. She gets her chi stack, which we talked about in the combat section. And this is a lot of words to say. If they're in stability break, you do extra damage. So nothing too crazy there. All you need to know is that one of her big benefits is that she allows the electric team to stack the positive and negative charge system. Okay, let's talk about keys. She has a bunch of different good keys. Now, this one you're probably always going to run because there's not really anybody else on the electric team that can apply defense down 2, which is a very powerful buff. And the reason this is an extra powerful buff in this team is because, as you notice with Voltage Sag, the enemy, with Power Surge, not Voltage Sag, but Power Surge allows you to ignore enemies' defense. In addition to this key, you can be ignoring upward of 50% of their defense pretty easily. There's other things, obviously, like boss mechanics and whatnot that allow you to stack defense shred, and the closer you get to 100%, the more powerful it gets. So this is a good chunk of defense shred plus power surge. She's bringing a lot of defense shred to the team. I think even some of the units themselves. I want to say Lena has an ability that ignores defense as well. So this is just always a good one to take. It's very easy to apply this as well, and it lasts for a good amount of time. Second one, this is an always must-have as well. Intercepting Fist. This allows her to do the interception attacks, obviously. One thing to note is that it applies conductivity. This is why she pairs especially well with Lena, even at low segments. Lena gets confectance whenever someone applies conductivity, and this plus support attacks plus Lena's keys and such, you're going to be just giving Lena so much confectance. She'll always be able to do her leap into either Wild Extinction or her alt and get the bonus 3 confectance ability off of both those. So very solid attack, or very solid key. Obviously, it's just going to do lots of extra stability damage too when combined with her chi. It says 2 points, but remember phase weaknesses as well. That's another 2, so that's 4 plus the chi stacks. You can do 9 to 10 stability damage per hit with this. Finally, the last key. This one is swappable. You can switch this around. I like this one. This one allows you to put an additional stack of positive charge on the highest attack. Also, in the electric team, for example, it'll be Leva. This allows Leva to cap out on Power Surge like very quickly and get the bonuses from that. You can use some of these other ones. This is garbage. Don't use this. This one is also kind of garbage. This is, once again, it was meant for PvP, but we don't do that here. This one is the other good option you can use instead. If you have a fight that you really need upfront stability damage, this allows her to start with a ton of chi stacks. So you can just start the fight swinging and just chunk a big amount of stability right off the target immediately. But I like to run the Calm Focus key personally. It just makes it so that there's no way you could possibly mess up stacking positive charge on your #1 damage dealer, which, like I said, for this team will be Leva. All right, let's move over to common keys. Common keys, once again, her key's good. There's a couple other ones that are good. You know, you could steal Andrus's key. The defense boost is garbage, but once again, now with the evolve system, you can just evolve you can evolve some good stats on there, like attack percentage and crit or crit damage. You know, these keys are whatever. She does more damage than usual, so she'll compete. The electric team's kind of weird, right? Leva is the main damage dealer by far, but then both Jiangyu and Lena do a pretty good amount of damage themselves, so they're kind of like sub DPS characters. So it's not ridiculous to be taking keys like this on Jiangyu, because she does contribute a sizable amount of damage to the team. I'm not incredibly wild about this key. Some of the other better keys I like that are just kind of like generically useful are like this one, for example. This one's Lin's key. And then obviously you can just put the right stats on there. But common keys are one of those things where it's like it's hard to give really good suggestions because you don't know what everybody has. And especially now with the evolve system, it's really going to be about which keys you evolve. But obviously she does a lot of phase damage. So other things... Main Dancer's Might does work on her because some of her attacks do, I think it's light ammo damage, or medium, one of the two. But where's the other key? Here we go. This one here, once again, phase damage increase, just all around good. You'll see that a lot of characters in my guides use these same keys over and over, which is why I've already went and started to evolve them. So, other than that, generic keys, once again, attack and crit rate. If you're just using like the purple quality keys, attack and crit rate are good. If not, attack and health. I don't have her peak key, so we're gonna have to pop on over to the Neural Helix real quick. This key is pretty solid. It's not a game breaker though. It's just kind of like a nice to have. What it does is it just does a little extra bit of damage when they enter stability break. Nothing, you know, to get worked up about. And then the second half of the key just allows Power Surge and Voltage Sag to give you another stacking buff. This time it affects crit and crit rate. When you've capped out on both of these, you get, you know, 6% crit rate and 9% crit damage. So it's just free stats. I mean, if you're worried about min-maxing, this allows you to hit 100% crit rate in addition to some of the other stuff. So it's nice to have. You don't have to worry about it. Like I said, I haven't even grabbed it yet. It's, you know, you won't see a huge difference. And then we also talked about her key. This one's fine. Crit damage is a very strong stat, and attack boost is a very strong stat. You could, you know, switch it for a crit attack one if you wanted, but Once again, a lot of this always depends on if you have a Covenant ring or not. If you do, then the extra 1.5% will outweigh switching to crit and attack. Okay, let's talk weapon options. So per weapon, you're starting to see a trend here. It's like they had like a quota to meet on how many words they could shove into a character and their ability. I ain't gonna read all this. I'm just gonna tell you it increases phase damage dealt by the unit using this weapon, and every now and then converts one of their attacks to electric damage. Cool. You don't need this weapon. This weapon is kind of overkill. The most interesting thing about her elite weapon is actually the trait. The trait allows you to do 3 extra tiles of movement after you use an ultimate skill, which right now isn't too crazy, but remember, this is an assault rifle, and there's a lot of assault rifle characters, so maybe in the future there might be some fun little shenanigans you can do with it. Just keep that in mind. Obviously, it's meant for her. It's like tailor-made because it does electric damage, and it's nothing special though. The stats are very average, a very average attack stat and crit damage, which is nice, but it's again nothing like these stats are not like out of the ordinary as far as like numbers. So you can get away with this weapon. If not, good old Planeta. This is always a solid one. You won't cap out on the ability here because her while she does get extra commands from her punches, it takes a long time to build these stacks up. But once again, it just has really good stats. Attack damage is like this one actually has more than hers, right? So you'll see same crit, but just more raw attack stat. Which is always very solid. You could also use Golden Melody. Oops, wrong one. That one's level 1 one. Where is my other Golden Melody? Jiangyu, where are you? There you are. Once again, just a lot of stats, and just good. She does do support attacks, so it's not like totally wasted, but I prefer Planeta. I think crit damage scales better with stacking team buffs, especially with her key. But yeah, you don't need her weapon here. This is nothing worth spending the tickets on. Attachments. Okay, phase strike, attack, crit. Cool, we did it, guys. Woo! Fastest section ever. Let's talk Remolding Pattern now. Remolding Pattern. So she is weird. She is a pseudo damage dealer, but she is a quote support character. So she's gonna get to hold all the support blossoms, which is like, it's weird. Now, just like in my Xiaomi guide where I talked about how Xiaomi's not going to be the only ice support on the team, well, Jiangyu's not going to be the only electric support on the team, right? You have Jiangyu and you have Lena. Both of those are support class. Now, there's a small difference. For example, Jiangyu has 2 Vanguard key or blossoms here at the end, but Lena I think only has 1. The short answer is you're gonna have an overlap, so just whatever works out better for your team. I always like to take Fighting Spirit on one of them, or on both of them, and then have the other one take whatever. Like for example, I'll have Lena take attack utility and Fighting Spirit, and then we'll have Jiangyu take, like, I don't know, HP utility and Fighting Spirit, for example. Healing Boost is less impactful on this team. It does work with some of their stuff. It's just, once again, I think Andreas might even be able to hold that one too. Let's take a look real quick, right? Before I just say that, I'm pretty sure Andreas has enough. She can only have 1 support key, so she could take 1 healing boost, which wouldn't max it out, but, you don't need that much healing. There's plenty of healing on the team. But it's an option. So, like I said, I would focus attack and Fighting Spirit, or HP and Fighting Spirit, and then just let somebody else hold on to the healing boost if you really want. For substat stuff, she's actually very flexible. You can kind of do whatever, right? Like, she does do out of turn attacks. She does do active attacks. She does support attacks. So she can kind of use whatever. Once again, we're at that weird problem of, can I sort by this? We're going to have 2 supports on the team, so only one of them needs to hold on to the electric unity, which apparently I don't seem to have any of. Here we go. Only one of them can hold on to this because, once again, it does not stack. So just keep that in mind. You're going to have overlap there. Just, you know, kind of balance it between the two characters. For the Vanguard stuff, same thing. You can pick whatever. Critical damage is just always a solid stat. Not that one. Where is Smite Boost? This one is just solid, right? It just always works. And like I said, with proper keys and gear setup at high ends, you'll be at 100% crit rate. So this is just more free damage. And that kind of covers everything we need to talk about for Jiangyu. Oh, got one thing. Fortifications, obviously, the most important part. There are 3 breakpoints on Jiangyu. Segment 1, Segment 2, and Segment 6. Let's talk about them in order. Segment 1 gives her another support attack. This is just pretty solid. More free damage. It gives you a new abilities to Voltage Tag and Power Surge. These are the stacking buffs and debuffs from her passive. These are not the real appeal. The fact that you get an extra support attack is really nice. That actually probably is the most appealing thing here. Like I said, more HP recovery, and it's like you get a little bit of extra fixed damage. It's nice, not the end of the world. Mostly, this segment is on the way to segment 2, and this segment is good for 2 reasons. One, it fixes her god awful rotation. You don't have to sit there and like play the whack-a-mole game of which ability is off cooldown. We get to do, like I showed in the combat section, it's just Thunderclap plus alt, then other ability, then Thunderclap, and just you repeat that the entire way. I keep forgetting the names. Rolling Thunder, sorry. Thunderclap plus Rolling Thunder, and then Lightning Smash on the following turn. So you just have that nice comfy rotation the entire time. The other thing that this thing does that's really nice is that it gets a little bit of stability and cleanses another debuff, which is very solid, especially since you'll be spamming it more often. The reason why this is stronger than it looks is because you got to remember she can stack positive charge now, so being able to play or to have her on a team and get multiple instances of positive charge off on the entire team, that allows you to stack Power Surge much quicker than normal. So with this segment, you can have the entire team up to max stacks of Power Surge, I want to say by the second turn? Either the second or the third turn. So let me think about this for a second. You start with 1 stack, then she alts for 2, then Andrus alts for 3. Yeah, so second turn, you can have everybody with 3 stacks of Power Surge. If not, it just also prevents you from ever messing up and having it fall off, because Power Surge lasts for, or I'm sorry, Positive Charge / Power Surge lasts for 3 turns. I don't know if it says in here. It should last for 3 turns. There it is. Lasts for 3 turns. This prevents you from ever making a mistake and like having it fall off because of turn order or something like that. So this is just a very, very strong segment all around. The rest of these segments don't really do much. These just small damage amps for her. Nothing crazy. Another cleanse is just, you know, this is quality of life. The big one here is segment 6. The reason this one's big is because it, once again, increases the team's damage by a significant amount. They do even more defense ignore. Does it say the amount? It should be 30% total, if I remember correctly. This stacks 3 times? Yes, so it stacks 3 times. Each stack does 10% defense ignore, plus the key, that's 60%, plus the teammates, which do even more. You're at a lot of defense ignore. You start to approach 100% before you even start to consider like boss mechanics and stuff like that. This is really strong. Like I said, giving extra damage to the team and also defense ignore. It just scales very well, as to be expected of a segment 6 on a character. With that, I think we've pretty much covered everything we could possibly talk about Jiangyu. If you've got any questions, go ahead, put them in the comment section. I'll answer them. And if not, you guys have a great one, and I will see you guys in our next guide, which I don't know who that's going to be just yet. We're going to, it'll be a surprise for me and for you. So you guys have a great one, and I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.